Today, we will be diving into the intriguing history of Northumbria, a kingdom located in what is now northern England, with a focus on some of its most prominent historical figures and events. From Æthelfrith's unification of Bernicia and Deira to Edwin's conversion to Christianity, the Battle of Winwaed, and the Synod of Whitby, Northumbria's past is rich with complex narratives, influential people, and significant developments. Join us as we explore the fascinating tale of Northumbria, its rise and fall, and its lasting impact today. The Kingdom of Northumbria, located in the northern region of modern-day Britain, was bounded by the kingdoms of Welsh to the west, Land of the Picts to the north, Mercia to the south, and the sea to the east. The region was initially split between Bernicia and Deira, but the people were commonly known as Northumbrians. Despite their unity under Ethelfrith, Bernicia and Deira continued to engage in warfare, resulting in instability throughout their history. Northumbria's conflict with Mercia was also frequent, with one dominating the other at various times. Both were subjected to the rule of Wessex between 825 to 829 CE throughout Egbert's reign. Following the invasion of the great heathen army of Vikings in 865 CE, Northumbria eventually fell under the dominance of the Norse. It was later incorporated into the Kingdom of the English by Edred of Wessex in 954 CE, which marked the defeat of the last Norse king of Northumbria, Eric Bloodaxe. The dates for the Kingdom of Northumbria are often cited as 654 to 954 CE. However, a more accurate time frame would be 547 to 954 CE. Ida the Flamebearer is credited with founding the kingdom around 604 CE, and it was initially unified under Æthelfrith, not Oswiu. Ida may have initiated the conflict with Deira by expanding his kingdom towards the south, while Æthelfrith expanded his kingdom through military conquest and resettlement of previously British territories with Bernician citizens. Around 600 CE, Æthelfrith attained a decisive victory against the Britons at the Battle of Cattraeth, and by 604 CE, he established control over Deira and unified it with Bernicia. In the meantime, to the south, the Kingdom of Mercia was expanding, causing a possible reaction from Æthelfrith around 616 CE. Although the details are unclear, Æthelfrith emerged victorious in the Battle of Chester, defeating the joint forces of Welsh kingdoms Powys and Rose, possibly with assistance from King Searle of Mercia. Following his triumph, he met his demise in conflict against East Anglia at the Battle of Bawtry on the River Idle. Æthelfrith's unification of Bernicia and Deira had resulted in the disinheritance of the ruling house of Deira, including Prince Edwin, the son of King El of Deira. To promote the two kingdoms' unity, Æthelfrith married Edwin's sister Ucha. Recognizing Edwin's potential threat to his reign, Edwin wisely fled Northumbria. Although Æthelfrith had intentions of having Edwin killed, the prince was able to find refuge in the kingdoms of East Anglia, Wales, and Mercia. The battles of Chester and Bawtry possibly arose from these kingdoms defending Edwin against his rivals' attacks. Unfortunately, historical accounts from Mercia have been lost due to wars and invasions, leading to a lack of clarity about Northumbria's past. Æthelfrith's reign's final year remains a mystery among these shadowy events. After Æthelfrith's death, Edwin returned from exile to rule Deira and claim the throne. After building on Æthelfrith's successes, Edwin further expanded his kingdom, which drew attention and provoked the neighboring kingdoms of Mercia and Wessex. In an effort to prepare for potential Northumbrian attacks, King Cynegils split his land in half, giving the northern portion to his son, Cuichelm, to create a buffer state. However, Cuichelm, in a bid to eliminate Edwin as a threat, sent an assassin to murder him in 626 CE. Yet, there is no concrete evidence regarding Edwin's course of action afterwards. Scholars debate whether he retaliated by leading an army toward Wessex. Legend has it that at the Battle of Win and Lowes Hill in the same year, Edwin's troops fought against the armies of Cynegils, Cuichelm, and Penda, king of Mercia. Despite modern-day scholars who dispute the authenticity of the battle, the existence of archaeological evidence found at the site supports the historical accounts of Edwin's victory. In 628 CE, the Northumbrians were successful in driving Sunigils and Quichem back. However, Penda broke his alliance with Wessex and proceeded to defeat Sunigils in the Battle of Cirencester, where he gained control of extensive territories. Penda then formed an alliance with the Welsh king Cadwallon ap Cadfan and launched an attack on Northumbria. In the subsequent Battle of Hatfield Chase, fought in 633 CE, Penda emerged victorious with Edwin and his son Osfrith losing their lives while Northumbria's power crumbled. Edwin, who had converted to Christianity in 627 CE, was the first Northumbrian king to do so. His successors also embraced the religion. After his death, he was hailed as a martyr and eventually became recognized as a saint who valiantly fought against the pagan Mercians led by Penda in defense of the Christian faith. After his demise at the hands of Penda in 642 CE, Oswald was also recognized as a saint. He advocated for the Celtic denomination of Christianity, which is somewhat ambiguous and remains a topic of debate to this day. Its followers celebrated Easter on a different date, and their monks had distinctive haircuts, but there were likely more substantial distinctions. Oswald handpicked Aidan, a pious Irish monk, to be a missionary to the people of Northumbria, and Aidan constructed the famed Lindisfarne monastery. Although Edwin adhered to the Roman Catholic version of Christianity, Oswald considered it a deviation from the truth of Celtic Christianity and endeavored to restore his people to this faith. The practice of Christianity may have contributed to the unification of Bernicia and Deira under Oswiu after Oswald's reign. Despite being united, the two regions maintained their rivalry, which worsened after Edwin died. Following the Battle of Maserfield, Bernicia was passed on to Oswald's brother, Oswiu, while Deira went to Oswine. However, a war erupted in 651 CE, when Oswiu attacked Oswine, although the reason for this is unclear. One theory is that the differences in their religious practices could have played a role. Oswiu was a Celtic Christian, while Oswine was believed to be a Roman Catholic, and Bede placed the blame for the conflict on Oswiu. Oswine refused to fight, and he disbanded his army and sought refuge with one of his earls. However, Oswine's earl betrayed him to Oswiu, leading to his execution. The practice of Christianity may have contributed to the unification of Bernicia and Deira under Oswiu after Oswald's reign. Despite being united, the two regions maintained their rivalry, which worsened after Edwin died. Following the Battle of Maserfield, Bernicia was passed on to Oswald's brother, Oswiu, while Deira went to Oswine. However, a war erupted in 651 CE, when Oswiu attacked Oswine, although the reason for this is unclear. One theory is that the differences in their religious practices could have played a role. Oswiu was a Celtic Christian, while Oswine was believed to be a Roman Catholic, and Bede placed the blame for the conflict on Oswiu. Oswine refused to fight, and he disbanded his army and sought refuge with one of his earls. However, Oswine's earl betrayed him to Oswiu, leading to his execution. After his demise at the hands of Penda in 642 CE, Oswald was also recognized as a saint. He advocated for the Celtic denomination of Christianity, which is somewhat ambiguous and remains a topic of debate to this day. Its followers celebrated Easter on a different date, and their monks had distinctive haircuts, but there were likely more substantial distinctions. Oswald handpicked Aidan, a pious Irish monk, to be a missionary to the people of Northumbria, and Aidan constructed the famed Lindisfarne monastery. Although Edwin adhered to the Roman Catholic version of Christianity, Oswald considered it a deviation from the truth of Celtic Christianity and endeavored to restore his people to this faith. In 654 CE, Oswiu managed to claim Deira and subsequently merged it with his own kingdom to form Northumbria. While there is some speculation that this unification was associated with Christianity, there are no Northumbrian records that can confirm this. Another theory regarding the unification suggests that Oswy believed that Oswine was incapable of protecting the region against Penda of Mercia. During Oswine's reign, Penda had managed to acquire parts of the southern kingdom without any resistance. After assassinating Oswine and solidifying both kingdoms, Oswy strengthened his military forces and battled Penda at the Battle of Winwaed in 655 CE, ultimately defeating and killing him. As a result, Oswy divided Mercia in half, ruling the north while Penda's son Peter took the south. With Northumbria being the most powerful kingdom in Britain once again, Oswy continued to conquer Mercia in 656 CE following Peter's death. Despite being driven out by Wulfhere in 658 CE, Oswy managed to maintain control over Northumbria. He held the position of the head at the Synod of Whitby in 664 CE, which aimed to reconcile the differences between Celtic Christianity and Roman Catholicism. As a decision-maker at this event, he sided with the Roman Catholic religion and declared it as the official religion of Northumbria. Amidst other effects that followed the conclusion of the Synod of Whitby, there was a growth in the number of churches, abbeys, and monasteries devoted to saints from Rome. These establishments had libraries and scribe rooms that helped in producing illuminated manuscripts, as well as promoting the love for learning. In contrast to Wessex or Mercia, during this period in history, the people of Northumbria had an intensified concentration on practicing Christianity, which led to the rise of two great scholars, Bede and Alcuin. Bede earned the title of the Father of English History due to his notable ecclesiastical history of the English people. His work went beyond showcasing the region's past and influenced the understanding of history as a whole in the Western world. Through his popularization of the dating system BC and AD, invented by Dionysius Exiguus in 525 CE to standardize the celebration of Easter, Bede's influence reached far and wide. Bede wrote and lived in the monastery of Monkwearmouth Jarrow, which was a significant center of learning at the time. Even after the Viking raids in the 9th century CE, the monastery continued to be an important educational hub. It's believed that Ecgbert, a monk from York, either received personal teachings from Bede at Monkwearmouth Jarrow or learned through correspondence. Bede played a key role in establishing the Archbishopric of York, which produced the renowned scholar Alcuin of York. Widely regarded as an intellectual giant of his era, Alcuin's teaching at the court of Charlemagne had a lasting impact on future generations. He is credited with introducing the word problem in mathematics and the question mark as a punctuation mark, but his most significant contribution was the emphasis he placed on literacy as a form of personal piety. This idea would later inspire educational reforms in Wessex under Alfred the Great. Despite the flourishing of monasteries of the time, the government was plagued by instability. In a span of less than 70 years, from 735 to 802 CE, Northumbria saw over 10 kings come and go through a series of political upheavals and rivalries. The accomplishments of previous monarchs in broadening the realm and developing infrastructure were diminished by the renewed hostility between Bernicia and Deira. Northumbria accepted Egbert of Wessex as their overlord in 829 CE, following his victory against Mercia in 825 CE, allowing him to govern the most influential kingdoms in the territory. Egbert's authority was shortly disputed as Viking invasions surged in Britain. In 793 CE, Northumbria was subjected to the first Viking attack at Lindisfarne, resulting in the vandalism of the monastery and the slaughter of the clergymen. The Viking raiders returned the following year to destroy Jarrow Abbey, and the year after that, Iona suffered the same fate. Egbert faced a loss to a Viking troop at Charmouth in 836 CE, but won a battle against a coalition of Vikings and Dunmonians in 838 CE. During his reign, Æthelwulf's own battles against the Vikings were not without challenge. The story of Ragnar and his sons is a tale of revenge and triumph. According to legend, El was the one who defeated and killed Ragnar by throwing him into a pit teeming with snakes. This led his sons to seek vengeance and defeat El's army. They subjected him to the gruesome torture known as the Blood Evil, resulting in El's death. It appears that he and Osbert managed to set aside their differences and join forces to fight the Viking invasion in York in March of 867 CE. Unfortunately, both Northumbrian kings died in battle, and the Vikings installed a puppet king named Ecgberti. However, he was later overthrown in 873 CE, and the Northumbrians chose Rysig as their king. However, Rysig was then overthrown by Halfdan Ragnarsson, one of the leaders of the great heathen army. The Norse ruled Northumbria until 954 CE, when Egid successfully deposed Eric Bludax. During Æthelstan of Wessex's reign as the first king of the English, he ruled over Northumbria until his death. However, after his passing, the region went back under Norse rule with Olaf Guthfrithson, who was the Viking king of Dublin and the grandson of the notorious Viking leader Bard mac Imair. It wasn't until Egid's overthrow of Eric Bludax that Norse rule over Northumbria ended, and the area was joined together with the rest of Britain. The TV series Vikings features Northumbria through King El and his daughter Judith. El partners up with Ecgbert of Wessex with the marriage between Judith and Ecgbert's son Ethelwulf. However, Judith cheats on Æthelwulf by having an affair with Athelstan, a former Viking-turned-cleric, leading to the birth of Alfred the Great. Ecgbert sought the assistance of Ragnar Lothbrok as a hired soldier to gain control over Mercia. Unfortunately, Ragnar was later caught and executed by El, who ultimately faced retribution from Ragnar's sons. It is important to note that these events are not based on historical records. King El's reign in Northumbria is relatively unknown and holds little significance except for his part in the tale of Ragnar's sons. Additionally, it should be clarified that Æthelwulf's wife and Alfred the Great's mother, Osber of Wessex, passed away around 854 CE. Æthelwulf's second wife, Judith, who was just a teenager when they were wed in around 855 CE, was the daughter of King Charles the Bold of West Francia, but the couple never had any offspring. Although Northumbria's influence in the Viking series is minimal, historically it played a prominent role. Despite enduring several periods of instability, the kingdom managed to make notable strides in the realm of religion, which greatly influenced the fields of education, architecture, art, and others. Additionally, Northumbria can be credited with producing several of the most significant illuminated manuscripts in history. The Book of Durrow, the Codex Amiatinus, the Lindisfarne Gospels, and the Westminster Abbey Bestiary. It is also worth noting that two of the most renowned scholars during the medieval era hailed from this kingdom. Despite devoting a great deal of energy towards military conflicts both internally and externally, Northumbria's most significant accomplishments were centered around the uplifting and enrichment of the human soul. And so, the story of Northumbria's rise and fall comes to a close. From the unification under Æthelfrith, the battles and rivalries between Bernicia and Deira, the defeat of Edwin and the triumph of Oswiu, to the Viking invasions and the adoption of Christianity. Northumbria's history is one of both turmoil and achievement. Through the work of scholars such as Bede and Alcuin, Northumbria's influence on education and learning was profound. It's a reminder that even in the midst of conflict, the pursuit of knowledge and enlightenment can endure, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire us to this day. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification for more history content.